want to go into our new remakes, ones
Yeah.
that I would, that we think like, okay, yeah, you deserve a second chance with these movies, or whatever.
Yes.
So, and we're pretty hard. We're pretty like we're kind of sticklers and stuff like that. And I understand. I get it. I get it. But we do have some that we were like, okay, here we'll grant you leniency on this one. Hey, you could take you get to take the retest. How about that? You get to take the retest. Second chance, we'll throw that other one out. We could drop that grade. It's fine. So,
Right.
one of my first ones is going to be, and I'm going to show the comic version of it first, but that would be Steel.
Mhm.
Steel is a bad movie that really just kind of deserves a second chance because you have in Steel, and you could do this either way. You could introduce it in DCU if you want to. I don't think you need to at this point because Death of Superman's kind of over already. So, but
Right.
yeah, he was introduced in the Death of Superman, and he was one of the guys that was like, man, Superman was a real icon to him. And they could have just made him like, oh, he's just like the second Superman or whatever, but he's black. And like, no, they didn't do that. They didn't do that, even though they kind of did later on, not with Steel, but with an actual black Superman. But they made him his own character, gave him his own struggles to deal with, gave him his own things that he had to get over within himself. So he was a really good character. He was a really good character, and like he stuck around more than I don't think anyone really expected him to stick around because he was one of those, there were several different iterations of Superman that came out. You had Superboy that came out, and you had the actual robotic cyborg Superman or whatever that had come out, and then you had Steel. Steel was the only one that stuck out of that whole deal. It was because like they wrote him really well, and I mean I feel bad for Shaq. But
Yeah. Now, well, I will say
Mhm.
he's of that stature, could pull it off in terms of his size.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
but I also will say this movie is so deliciously dripping with cheese.
yes,
I
yes,
mean,
very
this is a
much
deep
so.
dish pizza of cheese. What this is, I mean, it really is.
Very much so, very much so. And it
Yeah,
is kind of a guilty pleasure if I'm being perfectly
and
honest.
I mean, hey, I just happen to say Annabeth Gish. I will watch her in just about anything. She's one of those actresses I think is just great. She's really, I mean, I know she just to me she's one of those like Jennifer Gardner. I know she's not been in a lot of great movies, but to me she just brings something to the role of like a wholesome every person sort of normal person.
Mhm,
Annabeth Gish kind of, even though she was like the scientist, the wheelchair building and the stuff,
mhm,
she was still like just a person. She was like the every woman, every man kind of like a normal type person. So you got
mhm.
the hero in the foreground and you got kind of the people in the background, just kind of like the every,
Right.
supporting types. It's kind of like she's the Oscar Goldman of the $6 Million Man story here for
Mhm.
the Steel character, right? The kind of the
Right.
guy behind the scenes kind of thing.
Right,
So
exactly. And obviously, they could do better with their costume or whatever.
yeah,
To where like, and I'm not saying it should look like Iron Man. I'm not saying it should look that way. And unfortunately, as the movies went on, Iron Man became more and more CGI. This is more
right,
CGI mixed with practical effects, which is what I feel like they always should do. I understand
right,
there's certain scenes like with them flying around and stuff like that. Yeah, obviously you need all CGI for that. But like, just scenes with like just a dude walking away or something like that.
right,
Just standing there. Just doing just mundane things and stuff like that. I was like mundane for a
right.
superhero, I should say. But just
Well,
like
and you know what? I mean, Nick, and when they have Robert Downey Jr. in the costume in the armor,
mhm.
right? It looks really good. I mean, for crying out
Yes.
loud. I mean, if you go back to what the Star Wars, the '70s, like
Mhm.
C-3PO, Anthony Daniels in that C-3PO suit. I mean, it looked freaking awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a
It
guy
looks
in a
like a real
suit.
robot. Yeah.
Yeah, from the '70s. You're
Yeah.
like, that was really good.
Exactly.
So yeah, you totally could do that. Yeah, that's the thing I don't understand about that. Why they would do that way.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
guess
But
it's
honestly, with Steel,
mhm.
I mean, the only thing that really didn't look that good was his helmet, and that's I guess just because they had to show his mouth. I guess I don't know. They could have done a full face helmet. I don't know
Yeah,
why they
yeah, they
didn't.
should have
But
done like I believe that they should have done the full face helmet like he did, like he was
Right.
in the comics. But I guess that's there. I forgot there's that thing that they do with actors, like they have to show their face and stuff like that, and then
Right.
like when the comics never really do unless they're outside of their costume or whatever.
Yeah.
That was kind of the thing with Sylvester Stallone in Dredd, because Dredd never takes off his helmet while he's on duty or whatever, which Carl Urban made sure it's like, no, I'm leaving my stuff on.
Exactly.
If you don't see me, you don't see me, whatever. It's like you're not
Right.
here to see me, you're here to see Dredd, you're not here to see Carl Urban.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were probably what we're trying to do with Shaquille O'Neal. It's like, oh, you gotta know it's him. I'm like, yeah, we know it's him. It's fine. We get it. Same thing. They did a lot with Iron Man too. Him unmasking when he shouldn't have, whatever. It's just like, we don't. No offense, you're a good-looking man. We don't need to see your face. Stay helmeted. Yeah. Just like you're fighting Thanos and you're peeling your mask, you're taking your helmet off. Like, no, why were you doing that? I feel like a punch in the face with a helmet on is going to be a lot more. It's still going to hurt, but it's going to be a lot more bearable to take if you have your helmet on versus not having it on at all. So.
But they take cutaway scenes and they show him in the mask.
Yes, exactly.
The stuff on his face, all the digital readouts and stuff like that. That's the way to do it.
Right.
If you can do it that way, do it that way. It makes sense. It makes sense.
And they stuck to that pretty much in like kind of like phase 1, but when phase 2 came around, it was just like, oh, he's always got to have he can stay in it for some time, but then he has to have his helmet off so you can see his face. And whatever. That's that thing. But also, I will say, because Hollywood's big thing is diversity, inclusion. And though they don't do it right, I think they're full of crap, because this is an overlooked movie that they could have remade a long time ago. They could have remade this a long time ago. They're talking about like, oh, let's just do the Black Superman. And I'm just like, so we're just going to forget about Steel. And at the time when they were announcing this, I'm like, we're just going to forget about Black Lightning. We're just going to pretend those characters don't exist, or whatever. Right. Now I know Black Lightning has a TV show now that kind of sucks, but they still did it at the very least. Right. It's like, okay, we're just overlooking Steel. We're overlooking all of these other characters just so we can race swap other established characters. It's like, why? Why? Right. This would be like, diversity done right.
I think it was Professor Tosspot, said Black Panther retroactively made himself the first Black superhero.
Yes, exactly.
That just cracked me up. Like, because there were quite a few before that. So like, I don't get that, but
been around for a while too.
So like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is your inclusion done correctly, if you want to call it that. I don't. It shouldn't matter. You just make the movie, just do this character justice, and you will have something that people will latch onto. People like Steel. People really like Steel. It's like, that's why a lot of people hate that movie, is because people really like Steel. So you could do that, and that would be just a good introduction. That would be a good addition for DC, because DC, they need to step up their game. So so Steel would be. Do you do Steel right, and you'll have something. Like I said, you can do it either way. You can put it in the DCEU if you want to, or you can just do it as a standalone if you want to. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just make the movie good. That's it. Just make the movie good, and I think they could.
If they do this, they still could make Steel John Henry Irons. They could still make him say, like, since because the whole purpose of, like, well, Superman's dead, so crime's getting worse, and people kind of like the fear factor of, like, well, this alien could blast you with his eyes, or his smash you to a pulp with his fist or something, or throw you in space if he felt like it. But now he's gone. It's kind of like Batman disappears. Like, oh, now crime's going to go crazy.
Exactly.
He's not scared of anything.
Exactly.
So he could go, well, hey, I need to step up. So you can still do that as like kind of like a off ramp kind of storyline character, and then come back onto the on ramp with the other heroes, and then you can do team ups with Steel and Batman, or Steel and the Flash, or Steel and some other minor character.
Right.
So you could certainly do that. I mean, that's certainly reasonable.
And it doesn't have to be a world-ending plot. And that's the other thing that's good about Steel. It's like, it can be very centralized. This is, for as bad as Birds of Prey was, it was still like, they didn't do the world-ending plot. I was like, okay, you know what? I will commend you for that. It was pretty contained for the most part. It was pretty contained for the most part. And I'm like, you could do something like that with Steel, localized to a particular area, local city, and
Right.
just I talked about Dread earlier. The Carl Urban version of Dread took place in a projects pretty much. That's
Yeah.
it. It didn't venture outside of that, and it was still pretty decent. I'm like, hey,
Now it's
there
a
you go.
blockhouse of Mega City, because it's
Okay.
like that's kind of like So yeah, it was sort of the project kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing where you have this big giant blockhouse of where thousands and thousands of people live,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess spacism, so you have to go up.
Right, right.
So yeah, and it was all like a maze, and it was
And
run
it
down, etc. So like
and they were
but
able to
yeah,
do, yeah, it's
it
very
was well.
self-contained.
It was, and the cool part was it was very dark looking and dirty,
Mm-hmm.
which is what it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's how you do it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah.
Exactly. So like Steel could definitely take advantage of that, not
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about that's way, the best way you can do it. You don't have to worry about other superheroes getting involved or whatever because they're going to be taking, the superheroes are taking the real big, world-ending stuff. All right, you take care of that stuff. Hey, we got stuff that's going on here at the street level that you're not gonna see. So
Right.
even Superman, for as fast as he is, for as much as he can hear and everything like that, he cannot be in two places at once. So
Nope. That's
he
right.
hasn't done that yet. He has broken a lot of other laws of physics and reality, but he has not done that one yet.
Right.
So Steel would be my number one. I think that movie should be remade.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Another one I would go into is Spawn. Now for Spawn, I have kind of the same point as Steel. It's not as bad as Steel, obviously, but like it's like the execution did not necessarily work for Steel for Spawn. Spawn was one of those like it didn't know whether to be funny or it didn't know whether to be dark,
Hmm.
and you can go one or the other. I'm going to go out on a limb and say like just go full on dark. Just do dark serious. Don't have the dancing John Leguizamo clown or
Yeah.
anything. It's like leave that stuff alone or whatever. You don't need the super over the top. I mean, look. Art Sheen was cheesing the heck out of it. I could
Yeah.
tell he was having fun,
Yeah.
but I'm like, just the tonal shifts just didn't work for it or whatever. Um, so execution wise, good idea. Again, good idea. I have read the origin story in the comics, but even before I saw the movie, and like, okay, it was sort of faithful to it. I mean, you don't have to be 100%, but Spawn kind of really lends itself to that seriousness, to that dark and gritty. Just like not a whole lot of jokes are made from this character. Now, situational comedy can always happen. You can take advantage of stuff like that. That's what I say with Batman. It's just like sometimes like it's his seriousness that to reaction that is funny to the situation that's going on or whatever. So
Exactly.
so something like Spawn. I have a caveat, of course. I do have a caveat because I just showed this picture here. Spawn. I want more of these practical effects. Obviously, touch it up with some CGI, make it look a little bit nicer and cleaner. I don't have a
Right.
problem with that. There's only one way you could do the cape anyway, and that's with
Mhm.
CGI and stuff. I get that, I understand, but practical and let it just kind of touch it up with some CGI. That way, it fools the eye. You don't really notice it all that much or whatever. That's my caveat because I think the costume designs in this movie, just kind of like with Mortal Kombat, I think they're great.
Right.
I think they're really, really good. Even
Right.
like the clown, um, John Leguizamo clown. I can't remember the name of that character either. I never
I don't
remember.
know, but he was definitely not like chuckle, laugh, funny. He was
No.
freaking scary.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
exactly.
frightening. That is
Exactly.
frightening.
Exactly. And I was just like, if you want to touch it up with some CGI, make it look a little bit smoother, make the flesh pop out a little bit more, I'm fine with that. But just don't make the movie all 100% animated because like there's just some stuff that you can't recreate. I mean, look at this.
Right.
you
Well,
know.
if you go back to what is it, the late 80s, early 90s kind of
hmm
range of movies, that whole Hellraiser
hmm
series of movies, those
hmm
practical effects were freaking
Yes.
frightening as
Yes.
crap. So if you want
Exactly.
to show something from like, the deepest pits of kind of, I guess, hell for Spawn,
Mm-hmm.
then I mean, look at some of those crazy, Hellraiser type villains and stuff. Those things were nightmare
Exactly.
inducing. And those were
Exactly.
practical. I can't even imagine being on set
Exactly.
with this on those makeup. Just
Exactly.
wow. So
Exactly.
yeah, they could totally do it.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, heck, you've seen those TV shows
Mm-hmm.
where they deal and have people, make costumes and weird creatures and monsters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they totally could do that nowadays.
Exactly. Exactly. And I know they're kind of like they've been in talks to make this movie since I think excuse me, to remake this movie since 2008, I think.
Wow.
So like yeah, they've been trying to get this movie going for a while, and Jamie Foxx has been the main guy that's been attached to it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Jamie Foxx he's a good actor. He's decent when you can give him some really good stuff. And like we see Django, whatever he done, we know he could be an intimidating kind of guy.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm going to. I don't know if you're familiar with this actor, Henry Simmons. He played Mac in Agents of Shield. That's what he's mainly known for right now. That is a big dude. He's a big dude, and he's super imposing, as you can see over here. Like that's like this is him right here, black guy in front. But like, yeah, I think he lends himself more to that in that like they had his character like the ghost rider spirit had taken over his body after a while for a while,
Hmm.
and he was frightening. He was frightening. I'm just like, man, if anybody could pull off Spawn, I think it would be him. I know he's Marvel
Well,
now, but and like
right,
reusing actors from Marvel and DC is kind of a
right.
thing, but I'm like, Jamie Foxx is good, but I think he'd be better. I just think
And
he'd be
Michael
better.
Jai White was really good in the
He
role.
was
I think,
good. Yeah, he was
yeah, he
good.
definitely had that kind of presence that he could do that. His
Mm-hmm.
voice was right, and
Mm-hmm.
his kind of demeanor was right. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, sort of I think he's always been sort of a B movie actor, kind of. Um,
Yeah, mainly
but I think
that.
he fit. I think he fit the role pretty well,
He
actually.
did. He did. And I will agree. I will agree there. And to that same kind of degree, that's what I would say about Henry Simmons is like he has
Mm.
the presence, he has the voice. No offense against Jamie Foxx, sometimes his voice is a little soft. You know, it's just kind of he's a singer, so like okay, you have that little softness to it or whatever. Now he can
Mm.
he can be intimidating at times. Like I said, I
Mm.
saw Django. Even in like what was that movie he did with Tom Cruise? I can't remember what the name of it was, but when Tom Cruise was an assassin and he was kind of like along
Collateral.
for Collateral, yeah, and he
Mm.
had that scene with the bad guys where he was supposed to be portraying Tom Cruise's character, and he was actually
Mm.
pretty. He pulled it off really well. So I know he could do it. I just think here Simmons would just do it a little bit better. That's the only thing I
Mm.
would say. I would not be opposed to Jimmy Fox playing the character. I just think he would.
Mm.
I think Simmons would do it a little. That would be number two, and number three is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I know we just did a review on that not too long ago. Um, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is one of those. Uh, how did you say it? You said it perfectly. It's just like you had good ideas, good scenes. It just didn't work all together. Because I mean, look,
Yeah.
you have a series of characters here. They're all useful in their own way,
Right.
but it's like, man, I'm like, it just didn't come together for whatever reason. Great ideas, great, you know, good ideas for the characters just didn't work. The execution
Mm.
just didn't. It was just not there. Diamond in the rough. That's what you said. Diamond in the
Right.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So.
they weren't utilized the right way in terms of the story. I think.
Mhm. So it
I
definitely
mean,
needs a
again,
better
it's a
story.
great
Yeah.
time period to put them in because that time period isn't really focused on a lot for a lot
Hmm.
of entertainment and media and books and such. And that's sort of a you know the colonialism, imperialism, expansion of the world, pre World War One stuff, 1800s, that Victorian steampunk kind of thing with this kind
Right.
of pulled off at least to some extent.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's the trick.
And
It's still one of those. It's still one of those movies that, again, the scenes are fairly decent. If you watch the scenes, like, this should be a better movie than it is, and it
yes,
just isn't.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
I would allow them to call a mulligan on that one. Probably
mhm.
make it a TV series. I think we talked about that before. Just make it a TV series,
Yeah,
and
like,
it would.
yeah, like a Netflix or something, or make it some
Yeah.
kind of series that you can go and explore each character a little bit
Hmm.
more in depth. That'd be a good
Exactly.
idea.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, and I think it could be, just it could be really fun. You know, especially you have all
Hmm.
these different characters bouncing off each other and stuff like that. You know, and it had the opportunity to be the Avengers before the Avengers, basically, but they
It
just
did.
swing and a miss on that one, maybe foul tipped. You know, so I would that
Hmm.
would be my number three. I think my main one would definitely be Steel. I would just that's the one, definitely one I want to see. Also, I forgot to mention some of my honorable mentions. Gave my last one there. Supergirl. I know they have a TV show, but the movie, I'd say you can take a different a second swing at that one,
Right.
especially something, someone that is kind of living in Superman's shadow
Hmm.
in a sense or whatever, and see like how she can really break out on her own and become her own person. That's not, I would probably compare this. I don't know if you've seen this, but like I would compare this to Ahsoka and Anakin in Clone Wars, where like she had to find out how to be her own
Right.
person and get out of Anakin's shadow and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I would probably say I would like to see that. Green Lantern. I don't care who you do it with. I don't care if you do it with Kyle Rayner. I don't care if you do it with John Stewart, or Hal Jordan. I don't care who you do it with, but you definitely need a redo on Green Lantern. I don't know if
Right.
there's any plans for that or not. Um, Elektra, and I don't know. I don't. I'd have to go look at Jennifer Garner's recent picks. I think she could really pull this off. I really do. I'm like, I know like that the new canon would be the new woman that's playing her or whatever, but
Hmm.
Elektra is one of those like, I made the joke at the end of the video, of just like, oh, we need a real interesting character and a real better version of Elektra. And
Hmm.
it's like, okay, they showed the MCU version. I was like, no, I said an interesting version. And then and then it was Jennifer Garner in what's the name of that show that she was in?
Alias.
Alias, yes. And I said,
Yeah, she was
there you
great in
go.
Alias. I mean, she did like almost all of her own stunts and things. I mean, so
Yeah.
she can be a physical actress
Hmm.
easily. I mean, you've seen her other movies where she does like the dance things on, like, 13 going on 30 with the thriller dance and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I think she's an underrated actress. But she's
Hmm.
sort of that wholesome girl next door, kind of every girl,
Hmm.
but just, down to earth and relatable.
Hmm.
Um,
And
I don't know. I mean, I thought she was fine in the horrible Daredevil, do with Ben Affleck, and again, not so much as that. Yeah, I think I getting some on one of the issues of they got the right people, they sent the right story, or maybe
in the
writers, maybe,
script,
or
yeah.
director, or whatever. Yeah. So
Mhm.
you had good actors. I mean, again, kind of like Leave Extraordinary Gentlemen. You had great
Yeah.
actors, really good people, really
Hmm.
solid actors that just were not in a very good, story.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bad
Yeah.
writing, bad directing, what have you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I would be, like I said, I don't know how old Jennifer Garner is now. So I'm pretty sure she's probably starting to get up there and probably can't do the things that she used to do anymore. But like, man, it's like going back and actually thinking about this. I'm like, man, this could have been really, really good.
Hmm.
And it's just so I would be willing to sit through another Elektra movie if they put the time in and actually focused on the character and the writing a bit more, direction. Although I don't think her acting was necessarily bad in the Elektra. I mean, it was, she was doing the best she could in the Elektra movie, but it was like she
Hmm.
had nothing to work with, nothing, and it
Yeah,
was
that's the thing. I mean, like, heck, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen had Sean Connery.
yes,
Right. I mean,
exactly,
it's like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, and um, I don't know how well this one would go over, but this would have to be a very self-contained movie. But I would say Catwoman, because we all know how the first Catwoman movie was. Okay, we all know how that one turned out, but I would say like very self-contained movie. If you want to have Batman in like little scenes, like kind of like they did with Suicide Squad, well, I would commend Suicide Squad for doing that, having Batman in certain scenes. It's in the background, not a main character at all, but just kind of building out the world a little bit more. I appreciated that. You could have some of that stuff in here, but you know, if you want to dive into the character of Selina Kyle a little bit more and let it actually be Selina Kyle, you know, not what was her name, Hope or whatever in the Halle Berry version. It's like, no, let it actually be Selina Kyle. And that's another character, another kind of like Joker, like where they could really dig in and kind of dive into like actual character of this person and then like what's going on in their head and, you know, what kind of leads them down the path that they're going down and everything. So like, I think,
I like Michelle Pfeiffer's take on Catwoman.
I do too.
In the Batman Returns with Mr. Tim Burton, you know, obviously. So if they approach it that way, I think it might actually work. But again, it depends on the story and kind of you know, whatever kind of, you know, things she's running into or running across in terms of not a save the day because she's not a hero.
Exactly.
You know,
it's more of a character study than versus like an actual, just like I said, more in the vein of Joker. You know, I would say like, okay, if you're going to remake it, like I said, I don't care if you put it in a DCEU or not, just write a good story and you know, focus on the character, really focus on what makes the character tick, because we have several comics that dive into like the character of Catwoman. Like there's all the sources are there. You just have to use them. They're like, it's all right there. It's all planned out for you. All you gotta do, all you gotta do is transfer it over. That's all you gotta do.
Thanks for watching until the end, fellow Nerd Posse. If you stuck around this long, it means that we own your soul, and the only way to get it back is to click that subscribe button, leave a like or dislike, and comment down below. If you want to watch the full video, check us out on McBlamEntertainment.com, or for the audio version, just simply look us up on your favorite podcasting app. Follow us on social media, the links are in the description down below, and if you feel ever so kind, you can support us on Patreon or Subscribestar for as little as $1 a month and gain access to our Discord server where we talk about all sorts of nerdy stuff. Thanks again for watching, and depending on what time of day you're watching, have a good morning, have a good day, and have a good night, and we will see you in the next video.